everyone, and especially to our CISO, Ms. Deborah Plunkett. My name is Danielle Parker. I'm representing Team New Zealand, and on this evening, I will be presenting the Cyber Operations and Risk Management Briefing. Software assurance is essential in justifying confidence that the designed software will function exactly as it is meant to operate, and that it is free from vulnerabilities and faults that may occur either intentionally or unintentionally during the developmental phase. Therefore, it is important that software assurance needs are identified prior to the development of software. Through meeting these software assurance requirements, it is expected that the developed software will be free from any problems and vulnerabilities, and it will function exactly as it is intended. As of the present, the New Zealand government makes use of the waterfall methodology for its software development purposes. The model makes use of phases such as gatherings and analysis, design implementation, testing, deployment, and maintenance. It is appropriate for the government activities since the government can evaluate a project after each stage and decide whether to continue funding or not, which helps them avoid wasting of resources. The software development lifecycle also has security principles, which include risk management, security design, review, testing of application, security, scanning, and remedying any faults. Supply chain management is simply the process of implementing strategies that are aimed at managing risk and lowering the possibility of modifications made by unauthorized personnel on both software and hardware during acquisition process. There are various risks that are involved in this process. They can be categorized into 4 kinds of risks, which involve external, supplier, distribution, and internal risk. As for the New Zealand government, the main risks that they face as presented at the Global Economic Summit includes natural disasters, the emergence of new technology, and the threat presented by cybersecurity. All these 3 risks fall under the external risk factors. However, in the supply and distribution stages, it is possible to encounter challenges such as theft or vandalism and interference with the intended deliverable. Also, poor assessment and security clearance of personnel may lead to internal risks that may jeopardize the supply chain. In the current software architecture that is used in New Zealand, there exist vulnerabilities that make it possible for the system to be compromised. The attacks are made possible because of existing vulnerabilities within the system. One of the most common vulnerabilities is missing data encryption. The vulnerability occurs when a system fails to encrypt data that is sensitive before its storage, making it possible for the information to be stolen. Another vulnerability is shell injection, which allows an attacker to issue and execute commands on an operating system. Vulnerabilities that arise due to poor design are buffer overflow and bugs in the code, which allow attackers to perform a malicious activity. Finally, there is the use of broken algorithms, which not only inhibits a system from performing its intended task satisfactorily, but also creates an avenue for malicious personnel to launch attacks. The organization requires software that will ensure its security standards are maintained and that ensure vulnerabilities are identified before they can cause problems for the organization. First and foremost, the organization will require a tool for password management. Secondly, for the organization to prevent data breaches, it requires software such as CA Technology Secure. Perhaps the most vital tool that the organization will require is a powerful antivirus software. Some of the options that could be used are Keeper, which is a software, Wireshark, AirWatch, and Kaspersky antivirus. First and foremost, I would recommend the organization to use Kaspersky antivirus to secure its system. This is because the tool comes with built-in capabilities of detecting intrusions as well as preventing them. Secondly, the Keeper software will ensure that all organizations securely handles its passwords, and this will minimize the chances of unauthorized persons from obtaining these access credentials. The software uses 256-bit AES encryption together with PBKDF2, which are highly secure. Another recommendation for the organization is to use CA Technology Secure, which is robust and specifically designed to protect the organization in tasks such as identity management, management of privileged access, account discovery, and payment security, just to mention a few. Finally, I would recommend AirWatch, which is highly efficient for mobile and cloud services. The platforms will allow the staff of the organization to use mobile devices while ensuring that security is kept a top priority. Following best practices in the supply chain is essential for the growth and prosperity of organizations. Therefore, for the organization to perform at an optimum, it is advisable that they follow the following recommendations regarding the supply chain. The first recommendation is for the organization to increase inventory velocity. By doing this, the organization will be able to have more monetary assets at their disposal since they will be keeping inventory at a minimum and cash at a maximum. Another recommendation is for the organization to improve the performance of the supplier. By improving supplier performance in terms of quality and speed of completing deliveries, the organization will be able to have software that is of high quality while saving on time. Finally, I would advise the organization to utilize meaningful metrics for its supply chain. This means that metrics should be judged based on successful deliveries that are on time and of high quality. If the organization is to implement the above recommendations, it is bound to require finances to cater for the involved expenses. The organization will have to spend monetary resources in the procurement of software that will be necessary for securing the system from any possible altercations by malicious individuals. For example, antivirus software will require licensing. The cost will be relative to the number of devices that the software will be installed in, but these costs can be minimized if the organization embraces virtual computing. Also, there are free tools such as Wireshark that the organization can use at no cost. When it comes to the recommendations on the supply chain management, increasing inventory velocity will mean that the organization will have to dedicate its resources into ways that it can use to speed up the period it takes for its products to reach its intended consumers. However, these costs are worth taking considering that it will have great benefits in terms of generating revenue for the organization. Improving supplier performance as well will require additional funds, but all to the benefit of the organization. The contract language is simply the manner in which the contents of the contracts the organization will sign with other parties is displayed, or rather, the language used in a contract. It is essential that best practices are followed in the formulation of the contract to avoid future problems. For the organization to ensure that it runs its activities smoothly, I recommend that they perform a thorough analysis of the situation at hand before penning down the contract. Careful preparations will enable the organization to know when it is best to use negotiable contract language or to use language that cannot be modified. I recommend that clauses within the agreement should not allow for negotiations after the contract has been signed. as this will ensure all parties that sign up for the contract fulfill their obligations. This now concludes my briefing. Thank you for meeting with me, and feel free to reach out to me with any questions or concerns. Thank you.